welcome in. This is Baby Yoda, and he is going to be our reinforcer today. He's also going to wiggle around as if you don't see enough toys talking to you videos on YouTube with your kiddos. Well, I prime you because priming is important not just to our kiddos on the spectrum that we are working with, but in our everyday lives too. So what you can expect in this video is that we are going to be looking at expressive and receptive programs, card programs with community helpers as our target. So this is kind of a good learning experience for how to run things in a typical way. Always make sure that you check with your BCBA and their program instructions, of course, but this will give you kind of a rounded bit of examples. Also, I just want to make mention that future videos on this channel are going to delve into different scenarios and hypothetical BIPs, behavior modification, things you can do when everything seems to be overwhelming during a session. So just kind of examples of behaviors you might run into and things like that, and typical ways of how to handle them and tips and tricks, as well as we'll be working on echoics and reciprocating and initiating conversations and big deal and little deal scenarios and everything else that you can really think of ABA. I want to go over it all. I want people to have really good concepts and well-rounded ideas of what things look like, because sometimes you just get thrown out in the field and you're not quite sure, and your BCBA is not always there. And I used to train therapists, and I found out there's a lot of things that by example can help you do a little bit better and get a little bit sharper at your craft. And I want to be able to help have some off the field, at home, sitting around looking at Baby Yoda drink soup out of bowl time. But yes, that's a little wordy. Don't be wordy. It's not a good thing in ABA. But yeah, we're going to get into the video now. So get ready. All right, jumping into our first expressive program here. We've got Baby Yoda right here where he can be seen. So we have our 5 tokens, then Baby Yoda, and he's going to be our most highly preferred reinforcer throughout the entire video. But make sure that you are running preference assessments through your entire session, because MOs do change. And we're going to look at this program from the regard that the learner had gotten 3 incorrect responses for mail carrier in baseline. And we are opening it up fresh into intervention, and we are going to do some errorless teaching, and then I'll show you some prompt feeding. We want to stick with the 1 card because that aim is for independence with it. In another example, I'll show you what it looks like when you start to engage in this rotation for generalization with different pictures of mail carriers as the target. So here I'm going to start with a full verbal prompt. My SD is, who is it? Who is it? Mail carrier. And my client, if they say mail carrier, that's great. Now again, who is it? Mail carrier. If the client says mail carrier, they're doing good. Now, eventually, after a few correct answers with the prompt, you're going to want to fade. So we're going to go to partial verbal now. Who is it? Mail. If the client says mail carrier, they get that 3rd token. And you might want to do a couple of those, but we're going to fade it back even more now. Who is it? If they say mail carrier, that's perfect. Now we're really close to independence. So I'm going to give an opportunity for it. Who is it? If the client says mail carrier, good job. They get Baby Yoda. And we have finished this mass trial of 5. Moving into our next example, we are still on the target of mail carrier. We are going to be using different pictures of mail carriers, though, for this particular mass trial of 5. We've got our reinforcer back in place. We're ready to go. So I'm going to start with who is it? I'll leave an opportunity for independence here. And if they say mail carrier, that's right. So we're going to switch up our mail carriers now. Here's our next one. Who is it? If they say mail carrier, perfect. We've got another token. And now we have a 3rd mail carrier. I'll say, who is it? If they give an answer that is other than mail carrier, or they give no response, we are going to go in with error correction, and we're going to start with the last prompt that's the least intrusive that gave us the correct response. So in this case, it would be a partial verbal, and we're going to go with that So who is it? If they say mail carrier, that's great. We can either give them the token, or we can go back to back really fast and say, good job, try by yourself. Who is it? And if they say mail carrier, then you can give that token there. So now we're pulling out yet another mail carrier. We're doing great at this program. Ready? Who is it? They could say mail carrier, and then we would give them that token. Now you can go to yet another mail carrier we haven't used yet, or we can go back to one that we had some trouble with and make sure we've really got that one. You might want to go in with a partial verbal again with that or you can give an opportunity for independence because they've had this one before, independent. So let's try that. Who is it? If they say mail carrier, very good. They get Baby Yoda, and we are finished with that mass trial of 5. Our last expressive example here is going to be a random rotation of different community helpers. So let's say that separately in programs targeting the dentist, we can do a mass trial of 5, and all of the dentists we know, all of our hairstylists and police officers and nurses we know, we want to make sure that we're really making that discrimination and being able to look at these community helpers back to back with different professions and being able to give us the answers for that. So that's what we're going to do in this trial. It's very similar to the last example, and you'll see that right now. So I'm going to start out with our SD. Who is it? If they say dentist, that's right. So we've got our dentist down. We're coming out with community helper of a different kind. Who is it? They say hairstylist. That's right. That's our hairstylist here. Good job. So now we've come in with yet another community helper. Who is it? If they say police officer, this is great. We're doing a good job randomly rotating these guys. Now I come out with the crossing guard. Who is it? They might say police officer or give another incorrect response or not reply. And that's when we want to go back into error correction. So we're going to go with a partial verbal here. Who is it? Cur. They might say crossing guard, or they might error again and say police officer, or they might say cur, something like that. It's still another error. So we're going to go a little bit further now, and we're going to give more of a prompt. We're still doing a prompt, but we're giving a little bit more so that we can get closer to that answer. Ready? Who is it? Crossing. And if they say crossing guard, that's right. That's the crossing guard. We can go back to back again, and we can see for an opportunity for independence or a lesser prompt. So I might do a lesser prompt this time. Ready? Who is it? Cur. And if they say crossing guard, let's give them a token. We've got one more here. Here's our cashier. Who is it? No response. So we're going to go back in again, and we're going to do our partial verbal. Who is it? And if they say cashier, perfect. We can give them that token, or we can go back again, back to back. Try again by yourself. Who is it? If they say cashier, boom, they get Baby Yoda, and we have finished that mass trial of 5. All right. We are now into receptive programming, and we've got a field of 2 here, which just means we've got 2 cards on the board. We've still got our reinforcer in place, our 5-piece token system. And in this case, we want our learner to be able to identify this dentist by touching. Sometimes you will have the learner hand it over to you. Sometimes they will hand it over to you and or touch and say what the target is. Make sure you are checking your BCBA's program directions. And in this case, I'm going to show you in a really condensed form how you can errorless teach and then prompt fade. So you're definitely going to be spending more time than fade, independent, but I'm going to show you the basic idea of it in this particular example. So I'll start with a full physical prompt. So I'm going to be taking my learner's hand, and they are going to be touching as I am having them touch the dentist. So my SD here is touch the dentist. And I'm taking my learner's hand, and they are touching that dentist, and we are getting a token. Now, if I'm going to fade that out, the next prompt that I would use would be a partial physical. So in this case, I'll say, touch the dentist. And I am taking their wrist, and they are doing the touching of the dentist here. This is great. We're still in the same spot here with our dentist because we want to be able to get that independent before we move and switch spaces. So in this case, I'll go to a gestural prompt. I'll say, touch the dentist. And if they touch the dentist after that, that was a successful prompt. I can feed that out further and say, touch the dentist, and make that closer to them. Now, if they touch the dentist here, that was a successful prompt. And after a positional prompt, we can go to an independent opportunity. Touch the dentist. If they touch that dentist independently, they get Baby Yoda, and we are done with that 5. Now, let's say we've done that a little bit. We want to make sure that our learner doesn't always think that this card over here is the dentist. So we're going to switch it up. We're going to use the same 2 cards, but they're in different positions now. We're back with another set of trials. So I'm going to have my learner do the dentist, but I'm going to prompt a little bit first. So I'm going to give a positional prompt. I'll say, touch the dentist, and give that positional. They touch the dentist. Good job. Bring that back here. Touch the dentist. My learner touches the dentist independently. That's fantastic. I might switch them back again. And try here, touch the dentist. If my learner touches the dentist, we've got a good grasp on this. So now maybe I switch out to another card as a distractor. Maybe I'll do one of these. Take them off the board, put them back on. But something's different here. And let's see how they do. Touch the dentist. They're touching that dentist. Good job. So maybe I keep this distractor card or take another one entirely. And I'm going to grab a different dentist. So let's say we're at the point where now we are still working on that generalization. What are all the different kinds of dentists look like? But we're getting the idea that they're someone who have their hands and tools in somebody else's mouth, kind of fixing and cleaning their teeth. So we switched it up here. And like I said, you can even pick a secondary distractor card, and you can do 2 totally different ones. And let's see. Touch the dentist. If my learner goes over here, we'll go into error correction. And I'll say, touch the dentist. My learner touches the dentist. Good job. We can give them that token, or back to back say, good, try by yourself. Touch the dentist. And if they touch that dentist, boom, there you go. We are going to do one more example here, and this is a field of 3. So we have 2 distractors in the fields now, and we have 1 target card. We're going to be targeting the chef. So our SD again is going to be touch the, so we have touch the chef. And we're just going to see how our learner does. And we're going to mostly practice switching in and out different distractors and different target cards. So you get a little bit more of a rounder idea of it. So I'll say, touch the chef. Learner touches the chef. Fantastic. Now we're switching positions. I'm going to do one of these. You can completely take them off the board. You could shuffle them there, but we want them shuffled up. And when you are prepared and your cards are in the place you'd like them to be, then you can represent. Touch the chef. Learner touches our chef. This is great. So now we're going to take our chef out, replace him with a new chef, and we're going to keep those other distractor cards. Ready? Touch the chef. We've touched our chef. That's our next token. Now we'll keep our chef, and we'll replace one of our distractors. We're shuffling again. So you see how we are in constant motion here so that we can see that we're really discriminating and looking for that target card. Touch the chef. So my learner touches the crossing guard here. I'm going to go right into error correction. Touch the shuff. They'll touch that shuff. Good job. And see how we didn't have that independent there, so I will keep that card there one more time. Ready? Touch the shuff. This time they touch the shuff. And that's their 5. They get their reinforcer. We can clear the board here. That is the end of that mass trial. So I hope you get the hang of it a little bit, or a lot of it. That'd be good too. Our next video is going to be completely different, but we are going to continue to have programs that are set up, and we will go ahead and work through them. We've got a lot going on in this channel, like I mentioned, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Make sure you take your reinforcer on the way out.